Show me the money. You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host, Sean Sebastian.
And Keith Cheatham.
That's it, guys. The Oscars are over this year.
Are they?
2020 now is behind us.
When did that happen?
We've got a winner's list. And
Who won?
Between us.
Ooh. Who? Smith's Furniture.
Actually,
That
I think
is who.
somebody farted.
Somebody farted in here.
Oh, no.
I don't smell anything.
That's Keith. I'm blaming it on him.
I didn't do it.
I don't know. I'm catching a whiff.
It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
Oh,
Maybe it's somebody's feet
He
again.
who smelt it dealt it. No, mine are my.
I don't know.
It's not mine. Mine are in my shoes. Does it just stink?
I don't smell it now. It was just.
I think
whiff.
I think it's
You just got a bad whiff of something.
I think it's the smell of a sore loser, because you all lost. Okay,
lost what?
I won
Nobody.
the Oscars
No.
20. All right, I know.
You lied.
I did. I lie. That's right, guys. We've got the results are in. We have breaking news. We're going to get to that in a little bit, because
What
we have
news
something that
broke?
never happened.
We broke the news.
We broke it.
It's broken.
Late breaking.
Live local.
But isn't the news always broken?
all the time? Fake news everywhere, you know?
Yeah.
But not here on the Red Moon Podcast. Never. No, we actually do have something that has never happened before in Red Moon history. The 5 years we've been doing this.
Wow.
This has
That's
never,
amazing.
ever happened.
Never.
So we've got a result of who won the podcast. Tallied.
Who won the
Who
pod-
won
we-
the
we-
podcast?
This is whoever wins gets the whole
They
podcast.
get the whole show.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
It's
But
insane.
We are bringing you for the first time since the Oscars are over. We've got a film review that is no longer going to be nominated for Best Picture.
We're bringing them a film review for the first time.
That's right.
Since the Oscars.
Well, it'll be the
It
first
is.
time under somebody else's new regime on the podcast.
Ah,
Yeah, you all get to- that's
that
right.
makes a lot of sense.
No, but for the first time since I mean, this could be an Oscar contender next year. Doubt it.
It's not.
It's not. Okay.
It's not.
You're saying
No.
that right off the bat.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay. Well, should we just dive right in? Well, first off, before we do get into our film review, it is a highly anticipated film that's been teased for quite a while, and everybody's been looking forward to it. DC has been on the up and up with
They
the
have.
last few iterations in their films, so it has been highly touted as a film worth looking forward to. Everybody's been
Yeah.
looking forward to.
Yeah.
But before we dive into our review of Birds of Prey, we've also got a story time segment coming up this week.
Do we
Story time.
now?
We do. That's right, guys.
Story time.
Story
It's a good one. I think it'll be all right.
This
Anybody
is
know what
really
it is?
weird. I just noticed this, but none of us are drinking out of Red Moon gear right now.
I got
Oh,
a green
no.
solo
green
cup.
and I've got this.
I'm
I don't even
telling you.
know what this coffee cup is.
It's like America.
Green
Or no, that's
and
the
beautiful.
world.
You know what? Like, cause I want to go green.
Is
We
it going to
are-
be the Green Moon podcast now?
we
Is
are
that what it's going
one.
to be?
Yeah, he's got
Green
he's gone
Moon
green.
Initiative.
That's right. Down the road.
Hashtag one day.
Just like our website. Hashtag
I don't know what
one day.
Sean's got there.
It says we are one in all kinds of different languages.
We
Oh,
are one.
I'm thinking of Michael Jackson's.
We are the
world.
Yeah, that's different.
We are the people.
No, you're not.
We are the
And then-
ones who make the world.
Then hundreds of little children come out and start singing with him.
Rape.
No. Macaulay Culkin has come out and said he was
Yes.
speaking his piece. Michael never touched him, and he does not believe Michael ever touched anybody. So,
But
that's Macaulay Culkin's
made
wow.
peace with
That's
the
true.
dead.
So,
He's made
you
peace
know.
with the
Probably
dead.
got a check too.
Well, you never know. Maybe another Home Alone movie on the
Yeah.
way.
They were best friends, and he's tired of people slandering Michael.
Don't slander Michael.
Don't touch me.
He was very nice to me in bed.
No, we do have a great show planned for everybody. So let's get into our Oscar picks, but after our review. So might as well. Let's jump right into it, guys. Here is our review of Birds of Prey.
The Oscars have passed, and we continue into the more barren time of year for cinema. There are few emotional powerhouses and rarely big blockbuster action flicks. But still, more and more studios are bucking the trend and releasing prominent movies in the first quarter. One such studio, Warner Brothers, has chosen this time to release their latest film in the DC Extended Universe. Whether for good or for ill, Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn has now released. And being a film whose success the studio was unsure of in the first place, it makes sense they chose to release it early. Whether this will help or hurt it in the long run remains to be seen. One thing is for sure, however, Birds of Prey is not a film that should be missed. Starring Margot Robbie as the titled One Harley Quinn, this movie, first and foremost, is her movie. Despite getting second billing in the larger Birds of Prey title, something that has drawn the ire of fans and some moviegoers and is now even causing a title change in theater postings, despite whatever confusion may exist around the title, the movie from the very beginning sets its plot up, letting viewers know what to expect. This is the tale of Harley's emancipation from the Joker, and the origin story for how the Birds of Prey came to be, all coming from the point of view of Harley Quinn. Quinn acts as a self-aware narrator, similar to Deadpool in his movies, with self-commentary and fourth wall breaking all included. The film pits Quinn against one of Batman's most famous rogues to never receive a live-action adaptation, Roman Sionis, aka the Black Mask, played in the film by Ewan McGregor, and Victor Zsasz, played by Chris Messina. As part of the Birds of Prey are Renee Montoya, Black Canary, and the Huntress, played by Rosie Perez, Journey Smollett-Bell, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, respectively. The plot centers around all of these characters who are after professional pickpocket Cassandra Cain, portrayed by Ella J. Bosco, who has managed to get her hands on an extremely valuable diamond. The movie is a fun and hilarious ride that is almost always entertaining. There is rarely a dull moment, and Margot Robbie has nailed the role of Harley Quinn, making it her own more so than any of her DC counterparts, and one could argue even more than some of her rival actors at Marvel. With a firm grasp on the character and the world she embodies, the film and story around her shine. Parts of the film that do struggle a bit more on this regard, though, are the portrayal of the other characters in the film. Montoya comes off a tad stereotypical, though this is self-referenced in the film, and could have been funnier if Perez had gone all in on the role. Black Mask, in my opinion, fails to be intimidating, instead coming off as a whiny rich kid throwing a tantrum when he doesn't get his way. Cassandra Cain is nothing like her comic book counterpart, which is hard to get over considering how amazing the character in the comics is. Yet the character on screen is still a solid one, and would be easier for longtime fans to accept if it were a character by any other name. The remaining characters are all fairly faithful, with a few changes here and there though. Some changes are to be expected when going from a comic book format to film. Overall, Birds of Prey hits fast and hard while playing loosely with the source material in some regards. The action and fights are fun, though the finale leaves something to be desired. The comedy and Harley Quinn flavor are spot on, and while I have gripes with other characters, it's hard to fault what is essentially a Harley Quinn story for going the route it does with the tone it does. Perhaps if the Birds of Prey had gotten a bit more character development, I would have been more satisfied. As is, I love the film as a Quinn movie, but struggle with other aspects in regards to the larger DC universe. It's still great and shouldn't be missed if you're a fan of DC or just Harley Quinn in general, but it has a few kinks that weren't quite worked out. I give Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn 2.5 out of 4 stars.
Ooh, 2.5 out of 4 stars. All right, guys. Well, here's the interesting part. I think this is for the first time. This is the first movie in a while where we have some disagreements around the table.
First movie since, I don't know.
I don't want to mention it. I don't want to mention because it's still a terrible movie, and this movie in my mind is better.
The movie that shall not be named.
Yeah. So we've
Avatar?
We've arrived.
I loved Avatar.
We've arrived at our own conclusions. About this movie.
I will say this about Birds of Prey
Yep.
is it's okay. You don't have to have a microchip brain. You can have any type of brain to enjoy it.
Throwing shots fired, man.
Shots fired.
I'll be the first
Starboard bow.
to go against Keith's review. I actually gave it 3 out of 4 stars.
That you did.
I liked it better than just 2.5.
I mean, my 2.5 is a high. Like, I do suggest going to see it, and I would watch it again. I just, in comparison to Shazam, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, I don't think it's nearly as good, and I only
Right.
gave Aquaman and Shazam 3.
Yeah.
Now, I do think it's much better than Batman v Superman and Justice League and Suicide Squad.
Yep.
Actually, I might put it on par with Man of Steel around there.
Oh gosh, no. It
Man of
was,
Steel's not a terrible
yes,
movie.
it is. Man
It's
of
not
Steel's
a
awful.
It's a mediocre
No,
movie.
it's terrible. I'm sorry. The moment that he steps in, no.
It's got bad moments,
Moments,
but I thought
yeah.
the good outweighed the bad.
No,
in that
Man of
movie.
Steel's awful. I'm sorry.
Well, see, we got
It's terrible.
disagreements.
Yeah. Which okay,
on all
so
kinds of
Sean,
The whole
let's-
DC universe is just disagreements.
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
So then, Sean, what
Uh,
about you?
I gave it 2, and I struggled to give it 2.
Oh wow.
Mm.
Okay.
He struggled.
I struggled.
He struggled hard.
I was on the fence between the 2.5 and the 3, but ultimately, based on just some characterizations and some of the people's acting,
Mhm.
I gave it the 2.5. I wasn't a fan of Perez's portrayal of
Oh, yeah.
Montoya. Was
Mhm.
they make fun of the fact that she's a stereotype in the movie, but I don't feel like she went in enough on it to sell me on the fact that it's
Well,
like they're poking fun of the
Here's
stereotype.
the thing.
She was just kind
I
of.
thought it was interesting too because you're going to be the one person from this table
Uh-huh.
that actually
Knows
has
the
followed the source
characters.
material. And yeah, it follows DC enough to
Mhm.
know what it's about and
Mhm.
to know exactly how to grade the characters from that perspective. I, for one, am coming at it completely blind in
Yeah.
terms of being introduced to the Birds of Prey for
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
Obviously, the biggest thing, real quick, to get it out of the way, it is still Birds of Prey. It is not Harley Quinn Birds of Prey, even though a lot of theater chains have started, naming it that.
Warner Brothers has
Warner Brothers has
suggested
suggested to name it that to try to get some more buzz and
right.
tickets sold. Because obviously, even though it was number one at the box office,
It
was
didn't do as well as they
not-
wanted.
It wasn't, and they're actually predicting Sonic's going to beat it out.
and
this
I
week.
mean,
It was
it
the,
is-
it was the worst opening of a DC film.
Yeah.
which
is
doesn't
crazy.
surprise me though. The only reason it surprises me is because of the uptick that they've
How
had
good the other
since
films
Wonder
have
Woman,
been. Yeah.
Aquaman. It
Yeah.
wouldn't have surprised me if this was the first movie after Suicide Squad
Yeah.
or Justice League. If this was the first one after Justice League before their quote unquote reboot,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't be surprised.
And I do think it's associated because Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam, they have no type of tie-in to Suicide Squad.
Right.
Yeah.
This is coming, from a character that was heavily connected to Suicide Squad and Jared Leto's Joker. So I think
Right.
that kind of had people nervous. But I mean, otherwise, I thought it was a fun movie. I liked
did
the
too.
movie. I just have, like I said, I didn't care for Black Mask. I find he's a much more intimidating character in the comics. I found him to be kind of like this whiny rich boy who just wasn't getting his way more so in the movie than actually being threatening. I mean, they did play into some of like the characteristics of like Black Mask is very much into like torture and sadistic, and they did show some of that in the movie. But even then, it's like you see stuff like that. You're like, oh man, this man's messed up. But then in the next scene, when he's like acting like a whiny, spoiled brat, I'm like, well, now he's not scary anymore. It's like I was terrified when he was peeling people's faces off of him, but
Yeah.
then in this scene,
Yeah.
he's just acting like a little brat. So
yeah,
Yeah.
true.
I didn't care for that. Zaz was fairly spot on. Only I wish they had like he's very deadly. Like he's a very like just crack shot assassin, and I don't
He's
feel
not
like they.
just an errand boy.
They didn't
I
show
mean,
much of like his deadliness in this, but the psychoticness I thought they got right. They just didn't show how deadly he can be. Black Canary for the most part I thought was fine. A little bit of changes, but nothing that I thought was like character breaking. Huntress's backstory was pretty much exactly the same. The only thing I didn't care about her was I thought they played into the caricature of angry white woman a little bit more than like her character really is. Like that was pretty much her only defining feature in this movie. But if they were to give her more movies, they could do more with her. But I don't know if that'll ever be the case or not. The biggest one obviously was Cassandra Cain. In the comics, she is one of the most elite assassins. Her parents are like some of the world's greatest assassins. In fact, so much so that even Batman struggles when he's up against them. In the comics, when Bane breaks Batman's back, her mother is actually who Batman goes to train and get back on his feet. And,
See,
and
what's
come
weird
back
is
on
you know
top.
who you're describing here
We don't.
is Lucy Liu's character in Kill
Yeah,
Bill.
Yeah,
that's
That's
exactly what I
exactly
was
who
thinking.
you're
That's-
describing.
that's pretty much who-
Her entire story
Yeah.
is Ren
Yeah.
from
Yes.
from Kill Bill.
And that should have been who kind of Cassandra Cain was, but she wasn't. She was just this child pickpocket.
Yeah.
And like she even goes on to become like the second Batgirl in the comics after the Joker paralyzes Barbara Gordon. So it's like for a character to be that significant and big in the comics to just be turned into like this random pickpocket of no significance was a little disappointing. But her character in the movie wasn't bad. I liked it. I just wish,
it
they
would have been under a different name.
if they just named her some random character, it would have been fine.
Well, the thing was, the Huntress had that backstory. I mean, she had her family was killed.
Well,
she goes off to become
that is her
to train.
backstory though. That's her because her family is a mafia family. They're not assassins. They were just
Right.
mob
But I'm
boss.
saying hers is almost an exact copy of
every
of the
comic
Kill
book
Bill one.
character
Yeah, I'm
story
just like-
is something tragic
But
happens. They become.
I felt like the Black Mask was the Joker. I mean, he was the same villain as the Joker. I felt like, okay, the Joker's not in this movie, but you got a guy without makeup who acts just like the Joker and has this kind of unpredictable nature. Like you think he's going to let somebody live and then he has their face peeled off. Like I felt like, come on, give me a better villain than the Joker. I didn't want to see that.
I thought they did him justice. Only I wanted to see more exposition from him
Yes.
than just necessarily the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Because, like, for instance, there's the scene where they're sitting in the, and spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. But I mean, there's really not any spoilers. You could probably guess what's going to happen. But the thing is there's a scene where he's in his nightclub and he's speaking to one of the mob bosses.
Yes.
And it's before, you find out that they're in connection to kind of the climax for Huntress's story.
Right.
Yeah.
But I thought in that scene in particular, they showed enough of, his background and his backstory as to what his motive was.
Yeah.
But I wanted to see that more drawn out in the actions he was portraying, for instance, with the peeling off of the faces. And like that was one instance that was well done. But I felt like if you watch The Dark Knight and talk about Joker,
Yeah.
you see so many instances of the buildup of his menacing nature.
Exactly.
And I felt like in Black Mask, you literally have these two moments
Mm-hmm.
where it's just not enough to really convict him to say, oh, this is somebody who's on par
Yep.
with some of the biggest baddies
Yes.
in the Batman
He's
universe.
definitely a large crime boss in the comics, and he's definitely psychotic, but he's not like the same type of psychotic as like the off the wall nature of the Joker. I wish if they had toned him down a little bit in the movie and made him more menacing and made him a little bit more calculating, because he is a master strategist in the comics and he actually can fight on his own. Like he can do hand-to-hand combat
Yeah.
and
In this
knows.
movie, he was
Yeah,
kinda
they didn't
confusing.
show that at all.
He
in
can't.
This.
In
No.
this, he had to have people fight for him. So
Yeah.
it's like
They kind of made it look like he was a scaredy cat.
exactly.
They made it look like he
they-
didn't want to get involved.
They made him
Yeah.
kind of
he was
like
a-
of a prissy guy in this, and
Yeah.
I didn't think it's like, no, that's not really. I mean, the Black Mask definitely gets his hands dirty in the comics, so.
Right.
So I'm just like, he wasn't terrible. Like he was still entertaining. I just felt
Yeah.
like his characterization could have been much more menacing and scary than it was.
Well, and I know one other thing that fans are nitpicking who are fans of the comics that I didn't necessarily mind is I understand that this was primarily. It's kind of it does seem like WB is pulling a double standard in the sense that they have Birds of Prey being the branding and it's
Yeah.
supposed to kind of tell you
With
an origin
Harley Quinn
story.
as the subtitle, yeah.
But Harley Quinn is, of course, the central character.
Mhm.
And I thought they did enough with Harley Quinn, especially already knowing her backstory somewhat in Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
even though they've kind of abandoned that type of
Yeah.
story.
They show like kind of a little bit of that
They
in this
show it a
movie,
little bit.
but they definitely, it's funny, they never show like you can see,
Oh, yeah.
but they never show the Joker.
They
It's like,
definitely, oh yeah, and they do a slight against. They
Yeah.
kind of give you an idea of the traditional Joker.
Mhm.
There's one instance in the very beginning film where you see the Joker throwing her out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you don't
Kicking her
see
out of the
him
club.
at all.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. I'm fine. It's kind of like okay.
Well, they're trying to distance themselves from Jared
Exactly.
Leto.
Yeah.
and that's fine. But I will say, for the most part, I thought it was done justice to give Harley Quinn her moment in the spotlight.
I thought,
And I thought, for the most part, I thought her character was done justice from what we saw glimpses
Yeah.
of in Suicide Squad. And I thought I thought Margot Robbie did a fantastic job returning
with that.
as Harley Quinn. But I also think, too, that to me, it was more of if they would have just focused a little bit more on her and a little less on the backstory of the other characters, even though I know it's called Birds of Prey, I think that's really the main
Well,
problem.
and I
the
think that was the
story took a
problem.
hit because they took so much off of Harley Quinn and focused a little bit too much on the other.
Well,
on the
originally
other
the movie was going to be Gotham City Sirens, which is about Harley, Poison Ivy, and sometimes Catwoman. But Margot Robbie herself was like, well, no, I want to give characters that aren't ever shown the limelight. Let's do Birds of Prey. And the problem with that is, well, then it would have been better if they had said Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey or something, because it definitely is Harley Quinn's story. So that being the case, it's like you could tell the Birds of Prey, while they do have their origins revealed and some backstory, they're not as fleshed out as
Right.
much. And I
Right.
definitely never felt like they were, at like you could have almost gone through the whole movie with just Harley Quinn, Montoya, and Cassandra Cain, and not really even needed like the Huntress at all,
Right.
and it would have been the same movie. So it's like, how integral were some of them to the story? I didn't feel like they all were, so therefore it's not really a Birds of Prey movie.
Right. Well, and again, I'm not sure, Sean. I know you had some reservations about Harley Quinn. I know that you yourself were kind of disappointed with. You thought there were character differences in terms of who she was in Suicide Squad and who she was in this movie. And why don't you expand on that a little bit?
My biggest issue was her story in this film. I felt like all of the other characters had a somewhat interesting backstory, and they had a somewhat interesting plot in the film. Like, I felt like Harley Quinn, her whole story is just, I got to stay alive. There's no goal other than to get away from everybody that's trying to kill her. It's not, I want to try to get to this place, or I want to start my own, group, or I want to. It would have been much better to me if she was either trying to get revenge on the Joker, or if she was trying to get him back and like get back with him. And her entire plot for the movie is hope that someone doesn't do something. That's it. I mean, it's all these other people are trying to do something to her, and her main focus is like, if they accomplish their goal, I just felt like she needed to be. She's the narrator of the film. She's the main character in the film. She needed to have the best plot, the best story, and everybody else had a more interesting. I mean, you've got the idealistic cop that has a hunch and nobody believes her, so she's willing to do what she needs to do to catch the bad guy outside of the law. You've got the Huntress, who has this kind of semi-Kill Bill assassin background. You've got Siren, who has this, she's this woman who's forced to work for this crime boss, but she wants to get away. And I felt like all of their stories were so good, and Harley Quinn's was terrible.
I will say, and it's funny you mentioned that now, because I will say,
I do agree with that, actually.
I will say, if like honestly, and maybe I could see if Birds of Prey was a movie that came out after a Harley Quinn origin, origin, but like, for instance, the moment that they touch on it and it's funny, I like the opening. I think the opening is kind of cute and twisted.
No, I like
that. They show the animation.
I like
that. They show just a kind of a real quick,
they
summation
her
of what's,
origin very quickly.
But honestly, it's funny because I would love, talk about a dark DC movie that would be a psychological thriller, is if you see Harley Quinn as Joker's therapist.
Yeah.
And you see her turning, her
descending,
falling into love.
Yeah, descending into mad. Yeah, no,
and
that would
honestly,
be really good.
That would be a great.
See, that was interesting, but they went through it in 30 seconds.
Right.
And then the rest of the movie is just her trying to stay alive. And I found that kind of unbelievable, because even though she's no longer under the protection of the Joker, it doesn't mean he wants her dead. And he's the crime boss of Gotham City. There's nothing any of these other people could do without him knowing about it. And even Black Mask, like, he's basically,
well, his
under.
I would say his.
Well, they're all intimidated by Joker.
Yeah, but his whole motivation is that he doesn't want anything to do with her, so he knows that he can go after her.
Right.
So I understood why
they
set it up to where
would still let her die.
No, but I do think that he would lay off enough to where this story could take place in the midst of whatever the next story Joker is.
They gotta set the Joker aside because of who the Joker was in Suicide Squad.
It's one of those things where, like, I don't think the Joker would care whether she lived or died, like, if it was something he was doing. But if someone else killed her, it's like, well, you killed my plaything, so now I'm pissed.
And that's that's what I kind of felt. I'm just like, none of these people would have the balls to go after her, especially some of the. I mean, he puts out a hit on her, and people show up out of the woodwork to try to kill her, that I'm just like, if they knew that was the Joker's girl, whether they broke up or not, they would not have the balls to kill her or hurt her, because of the ramifications that he would. Another issue I had with the movie was I really like Guy Ritchie knows how to do it, but to have when they're trying to introduce a character, give you 10 minutes of this is who the character is now, and then here's a 15-minute expose of how they became who they are. Guy Ritchie is really good. I just went and saw The Gentleman. The Gentleman was a fantastic movie. Not his best, but that's a Guy Ritchie technique in storytelling. This did not do that well. And I thought, okay, leave that to him, and why don't you do something original and tell the story in an original way? and I felt like the director and writer was what's her name?
Yan, I forget.
Kathy.
She's
I think.
trying
Kathy,
to
yeah,
trying
Kathy
to
Yan, or
copy
Yan,
Guy
Yan.
Ritchie a little bit in her storytelling, and I didn't really think that was. I didn't really feel like it gave me anything that I haven't already seen before, so I that bored me. The storytelling aspect of it. Batman, his name is mentioned one time in the film when she says she got caught by the Batman,
Yeah.
and then she got away. She raids a police precinct single-handedly, and Batman is nowhere to
Never
be
shows
found.
up.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a good point. I mean, it's not that, like, obviously things go on that, I mean, Batman not being Superman,
'Cause I
like, he
even-
can only do one thing at a
Oh,
time.
I know,
But they never address it. I agree.
Right.
It's like,
in
I feel like
Suicide
that's...
Squad, they do mention that Batman is staying out of this because the police
Yeah.
or the authorities were the ones in charge of the Suicide
Yeah.
Squad.
Right.
But they make a point to say that we've already, dealt with Batman. He's not going to interfere. Like there's no, in this, you can't destroy a police precinct in Gotham City
Or blow up a chemical
or blow up
factory,
a
yeah.
chemical
Yeah, without
factory.
it not being something that would draw his attention.
And so that bugged me because I'm like, you don't have to show Batman because I get you're trying to
Right.
come up with a new
Well,
Batman.
you knew,
But you
coming
have to
up-
come up with a reason for
why
why
he's
he's
yeah,
not
there's
involved.
got to be
Yeah.
something, and I disliked that.
That's a really good point.
My other main quabble with the film was her and who she was compared to who she was in Suicide Squad. In Suicide Squad, I really felt like, even though they do make her kind of cute and quirky and bubbly a little bit, she's still a pretty unpredictable, deadly person.
Right.
And I felt like in this movie, they made her way too likable, way too cute, and way too normal. I felt like she was just,
I don't know.
somebody,
Let's just say,
there's
there
a-
was that beaver.
there's the beaver, and I'm just saying. But other than that, and her, having a hyena as a pet dog, I'm just like, she is someone that goes and gets, an egg sandwich from somebody for years, and she's got all these friends and all, and I get that people liked her probably because they had to because she was the Joker's,
Girl.
squeeze.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, she was just far too down to earth and normal, and part of the attraction that I had to that character in Suicide Squad, and from the very few comics and Arkham Asylum game, she's the kind of person that and I texted you all about it, like women want to be her and men want to walk that line of being with her.
Yeah.
But you got to know that she's the praying mantis, and at any moment she could bite your head off. That's part of the adrenaline rush of even being associated with her.
Right.
Is she could
part
be
of her attraction.
Yeah, I'm just saying,
She's a
like,
femme
you could be
fatale.
sitting
Yeah.
down watching Netflix with her, and
Yeah.
you burn the popcorn, and she cuts your throat and continues eating popcorn and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
Like, she is completely unpredictable. That's part of the fantasy of Harley Quinn. I felt like in this movie she was far too
Yeah.
docile, and that was one of the things that really bothered me about her character.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, Margot Robbie played the part very well.
Yeah.
And I will give her that. If there was any performance in the movie, it was hers.
Oh, yeah.
Ewan
doubt.
McGregor gave a good performance. None of the other Birds of Prey, I felt. Rosie Perez was the worst actor in this movie.
I didn't think she was that good. I
The
will say,
last-
the
yeah.
only other one I liked was Huntress. I thought.
See, I didn't even think
I
she
liked
did that
Huntress,
great.
and I also liked.
I thought her acting was fine. I just,
Black
again,
Canary.
I felt like
thought
they...
Black Canary was good.
Yeah, yeah.
I liked her.
She
as
was
well.
she was fine,
Okay.
and she was the only one who I felt like the character was pretty much who it should have been. The rest of them I had some issues with. And Harley Quinn I actually thought was fairly spot because she oftentimes is an anti-hero in the comics. She has teamed up with Batman and Robin on rare occasions, so she can play nice when she needs to. But I agree, like definitely, like she does walk that line, and she does have the people like. I mean, like Poison Ivy, she's like best friends with in the comics, so she does have certain people she's willing to play nice with, but
Right.
at the same time, she is
Well,
someone
and
who's
it was
willing to be
shown
brutal.
in a much more friendly way to make her the protagonist. It was shown that the only reason she was with this, the Birds of Prey,
Yeah.
were because
Well, they were helping keep her alive.
exactly. Yeah, and
predominantly.
she even said, "Here's the reasons why we need to stick together." And that actually brings me to the one of the very critical things I had, which was I just didn't think technically the movie. This will probably be my last point on it. I didn't think technically the movie stood as well considering all the other DC films that we've seen and even other Marvel comic book superhero films we've seen. Look, after you've seen Avengers Endgame, and I understand you're not going to be on that scale or that spectacle.
Yeah.
But I thought, the very end of the film, when you're in this house of
the fun house,
the
basically.
I have
fun
another
house,
problem with that. I'll get
I
into it.
thought, truthfully, that could have been a very good scene of just a lot of wacky, crazy things that could have been done well.
I was just gonna say that's
and,
when
and that
you
was
have,
where I was disappointed was in the action.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
That's when you have all
Yeah.
these different characters with different skill assets. That's when you show off each of their skills
Yes.
in the fight choreography, and they were all basically just running through,
And I
shooting
thought that
people
was
or
just
hitting them with
so-so.
bats.
Yeah.
And I will say the only other scene that I liked that did it well was the action sequence in the police.
Yeah.
Right.
I loved that
with
The police
with
station
the water
was
coming down
awesome,
and all of that.
and even
yeah.
her entry into the police station
Yeah.
and what she did, because that honestly was the first thing I thought. Well, maybe that's why Batman wasn't involved, although it wouldn't make sense because he just wouldn't have known about it at the time. But it's like she doesn't kill any of the police officers.
No, and that's the thing.
and I thought she would have.
she knocks them
she
out
wouldn't have
with rubber
cared.
bullets and
Yeah.
beanbags, and they never get up through the
Yeah.
entire sequence.
I
Nobody
didn't-
ever gets up. And
I didn't mind that because I'm like, look, I've never
It's a
been hit.
movie.
I've never been shot in the face with a beanbag,
But I
I'm
probably
pretty sure
wouldn't,
going to be
yeah.
out for
Yeah.
a while.
But yeah, that's
you
one of those
know.
things where she would just go in guns a-blazing, killing everybody.
Exactly.
She hit people
She
with
wouldn't have been
confetti,
conscious
and
enough.
they never get up.
Yeah.
And
But-
they made it cool in terms of how they presented it, but I was like, she wouldn't have cared if she killed these cops
No,
or not.
no.
And
Well,
that
some
was the
of them,
only
like when she
thing-
gets into the
she lets
the
them go.
evidence room, like she does kill some of them,
Yeah.
and it's like,
Or
why
yeah.
are you killing them now instead of before? So
And that was
and-
maybe the only fight sequence that really
stood out.
to me.
Agreed.
Was when they like when she's beating them with a baseball bat and breaking their arms with the with her, like kicking their
Yeah.
leg and breaking their legs and stuff.
Yeah, when she
like
finds
I thought
the
that was
bat-
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But even the end though, the funhouse thing, it really bugged me because they go into her little like her little weapon cache or whatever
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the funhouse.
Mhm.
The paint's peeling off the walls. There's rust everywhere. In the very next scene, they're in a room with bright neon colors, brand new trampolines, spotlights everywhere, and I'm like, where the hell was that? Like, this is an abandoned
Fun
amusement
Yeah.
park, and in the room that she like has a bed in and everything, like their little hold up in the funhouse was dilapidated. It was falling apart.
Right.
But then they go into this room where they're bouncing and everything's beautiful and brand new and colorful, and I'm just like, where did that come from?
Right.
Like, did somebody just go in and paint it while they were?
Well, and not only that, but I also
I
have
did.
to.
I went and painted. I said,
You
no,
did?
there's going to be a fight scene in here later.
Yeah.
yeah.
They were working on it. No,
Yeah.
the other issue that I took. Okay, this is my last point. You go through this whole entire film showing the organic nature in which this world is set. We know it's a world of superheroes. We know there can be
Yeah.
superpowers.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
know what you're talking
Aquaman
about.
swimming around
But-
and Superman's flying around.
Yeah. But here's the problem: is it's like you've at no point set that precedent in this
For the
film.
scream.
Yeah.
And then when Black Canary screams, and it's this horrible visual effect shot.
Yeah.
And I know the only reason they did it was to really, it wasn't even to take out those people, because she could have screamed and it
They
could have
wanted
just,
to have a
it-
buildup of she's finally going to use her powers,
Well,
but they didn't build
not
it
only
up.
that, it
No.
wasn't just that. It was like it was so cheesy looking, and it literally could have been just the scream that knocked all those guys out. But instead, what they did is they did
did
this
that ripple
horrible
effect.
ripple effect, and the only reason was to show that Harley Quinn could use it to propel herself forward to catch up
Yeah.
with Black Mask.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, if that was the only reason you did that, I'm like, this is a terrible way to show off that power. And also, there was no build up. That was the only part where I thought was extremely cheesy.
I was
and I
confused
just
on
would've-
how
I just
that.
would have kept that off.
The one thing, one of the
out.
things I disliked about it was I hated the Harley Quinn on roller skates thing because it's like you just knocked everyone out with that scream, yet she's just riding it. It's like, why wouldn't it knock her out?
Kill
too?
her or
Right.
knock her
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
bothered me. I was like, which I mean, that is something Black Canary can do in the comics,
Right.
and I was expecting it the whole movie as like they're eventually
Well,
going to
she
do
breaks
this.
the glass
She
when they're
does.
singing,
Yeah.
and they kind of set you up that she's got the voice that can do that. But
But
they
again-
definitely don't deliver anything that makes you think she can create a
Well,
shockwave to
my
knock
thing
everybody down.
was, I knew she had that power, so I knew it was eventually coming. But my thing was constantly, why didn't she use it at any point in time to save herself earlier?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like I know she was like begrudgingly like I don't want to be a superhero, but at the same time, it's like if your life's in danger, I'm pretty sure you're going to use it to save yourself.
Sure.
You don't have to use it to be a superhero.
Yeah.
You
But
still
even
use
still, all that I said,
Yeah.
we're all divided. So 3 for me, 2.5 are
house
official.
divided.
and 2 for
2.
Sean. But hey, for our Red Moon score
I still say go see it.
to be in the middle. Oh yeah,
And I don't
definitely
say
think
no, don't
it's
go see
worth
it.
seeing.
I would definitely try to watch it again. Maybe I'll enjoy it more. 'Cause I told you guys I watched the Suicide Squad again after I got home. Like
the only thing that I had
and
a qualm with
I've
was
I've
after
seen that movie
right
3
after
times
this movie,
and I hated it every
and
time.
you said Suicide Squad was better, and I was like, "There's no way. I just can't."
I
can't.
felt like if you subtracted the crocodile guy
no.
and Will Smith, like I really I can't think of her name. The
Viola Davis.
Yeah,
Amanda
I
Waller.
can't. I didn't
Oh,
like her
Her,
character.
Rick Flag. Actually, the only characters I did like
But-
was Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn,
Yeah.
Diablo, and Captain
I
Boomerang.
thought the action was better. I thought her portrayal of Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad was better, or at least I liked it better. So there were just there's kind of things I liked about Birds of Prey and things I liked about Suicide Squad, and I wish you could have had them both in the same film. But instead, I've got to enjoy little bits of this. The pacing of Suicide Squad I thought was better than this. I found myself bored in
Suicide
Birds
Squad,
of Prey.
I was bored in that movie, and I
Really?
was honestly
I hate that
Suicide Squad
movie.
was when I was like, "There's no return for DC." That was when I
Yeah.
knew. And
I think it's got like
Shorty.
a 26% on Rotten
I
Tomatoes.
know.
I know. And I don't know.
But hey, that's the beauty of film, and that's the beauty of this show, is we can have dissenting arguments, and yet we can also claim, that we have our own points for why we.
I'm
like
gonna
what we
watch
like,
it again because
so.
I want to see Margot Robbie
Well,
in
of
that outfit.
course.
So
I mean,
go ahead.
I was gonna say all of them aren't bad looking, but then I was like, well, no, Cassandra Cain and Montoya aren't great
No.
looking. But I mean,
Huntress.
and
Yeah.
Black Canary.
The
and
last
her are
movie
all
Rosie
black.
Perez did that was any good was White Men Can't Jump.
No, it could happen to you.
No.
That's a great movie.
Oh
With
yeah,
Nicolas
I forgot
Cage,
about that.
That's
yeah.
a Lotto movie.
She was
That's
a better
good.
cop in Pineapple Express than she was in this movie.
I forgot she was in.
She was the
Pineapple
bad
Express.
cop in Pineapple Express, and she gave a good performance in that
I
movie.
like
I don't know
Pineapple
where she was
Express.
in this movie.
It was a good movie.
Anyway.
All right, guys. I think it's time that we move on. Finally,
Please.
we've talked about it enough. So Oscars 2020 is over and
It's
done
over.
with.
It's
I think
done.
we now need to review our Oscar winners here. We've
'Kay.
got them down. We've tallied up the votes.
I got to pull
I
them
don't
up.
have
You
mine.
got to well, Sean doesn't have his, but I think
Sean didn't bring. them.
I think I remember for the most part
I
what
think
I picked.
I've got it in a text because I think you wrote down all the ones you got right, but
Yeah.
then you recorrected.
There was one that I didn't get right.
But so we're mainly going to talk about whether or not we agree with the top winners.
Yeah.
But we've had a first, guys, a first in Red Moon history. So we obviously every year we pick who we think will win, and then we tally it up to see who won that year's
Who got the
pick
closest? Yeah.
in a first ever Red Moon podcast event.
Mm.
We all tied.
We tied.
We
Wow.
all got.
This was an Oscar of first.
Yeah, this was an
And
Oscar
this is-
first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
We
it was
all
like the first
picked
time
10
that
winners.
first
Non-English film wins
yes.
Best Picture.
international film. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have been historic all around.
Yep.
So that's the thing we're talking about. So first off, congratulations to you two and to myself. We all picked 10 winners.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing
A
is
lot of them are the
too-
same, but we have a few differences.
Yeah, that was the interesting part. is
Yeah.
We had, Toy Story 4 when it won, that was actually early on.
I mean, honestly, like
I lost my
I
mind.
should have known.
you
Like,
know?
I mean, Sean was right. I
Y'all
should have
laughed
known.
at me for picking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was determined. Like, I was so stubborn. I was like, "There's no way like they could possibly
They
award
did.
Toy Story." But I should have known they were going to go with Pixar.
They
Yeah.
always
Mhm.
do. They
Yeah.
always do. Sean,
Yep.
you were
Slap
right.
in the face to all the other animated
That's
films
not
that
who
were
I
much
wanted to
better.
win.
No.
Oh, no.
But that's
None
who
of
I
us
said.
did.
That's who I said they would pick.
Literally every animated movie in that list was better
Better.
than Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed. But then the thing was that was the early lead of the night.
Mhm.
Then I think Keith took it back. I think it was adapted screenplay. He ended up winning.
I had
with
Jojo Rabbit for
Jojo
adapted
Rabbit.
screenplay. Yeah.
That brought him back into the running, and then I ended up getting it with the sound mixing, sound editing, and coming back.
I could have had that one, but I went with Ford v Ferrari for both of them. And
And actually, Sean, you did end up.
I got
getting
them right.
those.
And if
got-
you remember on
Yep.
the previous show,
you had them mixed.
I had
yeah.
them flip flopped.
Yeah.
So when I flip flopped them back, I got them right.
Yeah.
you got them right.
Yeah.
So then that brought us all back up into at least I forget which one I ended up winning. That brought me back into the. I think it was.
I think you had film editing is what you because I think me and Sean both went with.
I went with The Irishman.
We all
both
got
went
that
with
one
editing.
wrong
Oh, okay.
because I went with Joker. And
You're so stupid.
Well, Ford v Ferrari ended up busting
Right.
us all.
I know it was
Right.
stupid.
Yeah.
Because
That ended up
1917 was my what
Maybe
I
it-
wanted to win, but I thought they would give it to The Irishman.
Yeah.
I think it was costume design or something like
No,
that.
I had little.
We had Little Women for that.
Yeah.
Oh, we all got that. What about production design?
I had
19
that.
Oh,
I
and
had Once Upon a
I had
Time in
Once
Hollywood.
Upon a Time.
Yeah,
I had that.
Yeah.
I don't know where you
Oh,
had.
it was a supporting actress.
I had that too.
No, but I'm saying when I got back up to you,
I picked
you,
Laura Dern.
Yeah,
But there still had to been one you picked that I didn't.
Yeah, the sound mixing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You
Yep,
missed that
you're
one.
right, correct.
Sean got it right, but Sean missed the best actor or supporting actor.
I
You
missed
picked-
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, you picked Joe Pesci.
I picked Joe Pesci.
and I picked
thought
that
they
was
would give it to
who
him.
I wanted
Yeah.
to win.
Yep.
Yeah.
So at the end
That's
of the
what
day,
it was. Yeah.
we ended up all getting a mixture.
A mixture.
Yep.
Of the ones who
A
won.
concoction.
And then I had
And the ones
two.
who
I had two
lost.
categories that you all didn't count, which was international film and hair and makeup.
And now here's the thing.
I got those
this
right.
was
well,
my
we-
bad.
we got those right too, though.
You
You
got.
did.
What did you have for hair and makeup?
I forget who it was. I didn't write it down.
Because it wasn't.
it wasn't. It
I
was
didn't
Bombshell
pick
that
anybody.
won, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Bombshell
Yeah.
won.
Bombshell
Yeah.
won.
And then I had Parasite for international feature.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all picked. Well, we all picked Parasite, but we didn't cover. We didn't actually
Yeah, we didn't
pick
cover it.
international. We
Yeah.
didn't go over that
Right.
or hair and
I just
makeup.
knew Parasite was going to win. I mean, it was
Yeah.
the best.
Nobody knew
nominee
it
for
was.
Best Picture.
Nobody knew it was going to
No.
win Best Picture though.
Well, and
We
that's
had-
where I want to get. That's where I want to get started with our.
Yeah,
picks.
that's what I had some inkling
So-
because like there were some articles I read where people were like, "Oh, Parasite might get it," and I was like, "No, there's no way." But then when they like announced it, I was like, "Dang it, I should have believed those articles."
Yeah.
Well, no, I remember saying on last
Yeah.
week's episode that I was talking about how I believed after reading a few articles and I had already locked in my picks, but I
Mhm.
said it would not surprise me or it wouldn't be an upset if Parasite won. It
Mhm.
would surprise me. And it did win. It was a surprising win for Best Picture.
Yep.
But I did not see it as an upset, especially considering all the things leading up to it. And I just want to give ourselves a pat on the back because completely unexpected. We did save that as our last film to review before
Parasite,
the Oscars.
yeah.
So
So
I'm just
you know.
saying, we kind of knew.
It
heads
is
up,
an
you know?
excellent movie. I really love the movie. I just because international films never win, and I honestly don't think it's better than 1917 or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or Joker. I mean, I might put it behind those three, but I still think those three are better. So with it being international and not being as good as those three, in my opinion, I just really didn't think it was going to get it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Well,
disappointed that it
Once
got
it won international film and Best Director,
Yeah.
I really didn't think it was going to get Best Picture.
I mean, Bong Joon-ho,
But-
like
Well,
he
said
after international film, he said he thought he was done for
he
the
was
night.
going home. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
He
was done.
thought- But it was interesting because when I racked up all the Best Supporting Actor and Actress and Best Actor, Best Actress, I thought having those locked
Well,
in. They're Best Director and Best Picture are always a toss up because
Yeah.
those are everybody knows those are the grand prizes. And I really did think that after Bong Joon-ho won Best Director,
he wouldn't get.
I almost thought because of
he
last
got it.
year or the year before with Shape of Water, Guillermo del Toro winning Best Director, and I thought, okay, finally the Academy's getting off of that whole.
Well, more
Best
often than
Director's
not,
the runner-up.
I mean, there in more recent years it hasn't been the case, but historically, Best Director and Best Picture usually are the same.
both, yeah. And, well, we made that argument before. It wasn't until the last decade that really started
That
happening.
they started splitting it.
and it was kind of weird because it was like, well, shouldn't the person who directed Best Picture be the Best Director? I mean, I know it really comes down to directors who are in that category that
yeah.
are ultimately the big push for who wins Best
Yeah.
Director. But still, that just always would make the most sense. So when he won Best Director, I was like, wow, I think maybe Parasite is going to win Best Picture. It did not surprise me one bit when it won.
Yeah.
What surprised me is that I'm still on the fence because of, like you were saying, I still think what is going to be the picture that, just like everybody was railing against Green Book last year and we railed against Shape of Water, what's going to be a film that stands the test of time?
Yeah.
That's
Is
not one of them.
truly
Well, I think
Parasite
Green
going to
Book
be
does way more than Shape of Water. So
Oh, no doubt.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think La La Land does way more than Moonlight.
exactly. And so that's going to be my question is, a year from now, I usually like to, kind of like what we did last week with all the past winners and whether or not we agree, I think it's going to be something that
We'll
I
see
look
which
back
movie
on.
people still talk about, because I
Right.
don't ever hear anybody talk about Moonlight anymore unless you bring it up and they're like, well, it was significant because of
I
what
don't
it was
hear many
about.
people talk about Green Book
No.
anymore.
Exactly.
Like, I
No.
mean, it was the rave that year, but I just don't. I've never heard anybody say
It
like
was almost like the safe bet.
But there
Yeah.
really wasn't.
I don't know.
There wasn't a lot, I think, last year that were very memorable.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think that was the other interesting thing was this was a year that not only us, but I mean, this is one year where we're going to look back. I think it was in the list that Neil sent us in that email.
Yeah.
There was one year in particular, like the very first year
I
they
think,
went to 9 films, where all of those films were just
I
spectacular.
think the one with Life of Pi, Zero Dark
Moon,
30,
Slumdog. Moneyball.
Argo.
no, that
Yes.
was Slumdog was the year before that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought there were a
I
lot
think
of
it was
good
a little bit
movies
longer
that year
before
too.
there were.
But that was back when there was only like 5 nominations.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, there's definitely, and this is a year where almost all of them are going to be.
You agree with almost everything that's in there. I still don't agree with Ford v Ferrari being in there
No, I
because Peanut Butter Falcon was a way better movie than that.
Well, there's a couple.
And a lot of them, yeah. But I feel like that movie should have been on there somewhere, and I'm really disappointed that it wasn't. But I did agree with almost every one of them on there, and it's even though I haven't seen Parasite yet.
Yeah.
I don't see it getting my heart as much as 1917 and Once Upon a Time did.
But you don't know until you see
but
it.
I don't know until I see it, and
Right.
that's just it's gonna be hard for me to enjoy a movie with subtitles because that's just not my bag. I read and I miss the movie. I miss the acting.
Again, I mean, I look at
So-
something like Life is Beautiful, which is a wonderful film that's subtitled.
Yeah,
And that's definitely one that is, to me, worthy
the
of
passion
being
is so good because
yeah.
there's so
Yeah.
few subtitles.
Life-
It's all acting and very little talking.
Life
and
is
that's-
Beautiful is one of the.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just an amazing movie. I love that movie.
But
agree
I
with
do
that. And
think-
I mean, yeah, the passion too. Yeah.
But I think overall, this is not going to be necessarily one film that I'm going to give it time to sink in.
Yeah.
I still think that because it was such a good year with so many great films, that's why it's a little bit harder to kind of rest with
Yeah.
it being Best Picture.
Yeah.
And I'm almost still on this fence of knowing that because of the way the Academy votes, it's like, did they do it because they wanted a historical vote
Another
to
first.
say, oh,
Yeah.
we made history because the first time ever, 12 times only international films have been nominated, but this is the one
Yep.
that won.
Yeah.
And granted, I know that's always the shot in the dark because
Yep.
it's like, well, how many more times are we going to get? I mean, but that's the idea. The
It's
idea is
also
that
at a time when we have a president that's pretty kind of America first and let's keep our country sovereign and separate and a lot of the immigration stuff. And I mean, it does kind of make you wonder if politics had something to do with it.
Maybe,
I don't
but
think so.
I never got that.
I don't
feeling,
think
yeah.
so.
I don't
but I'm
either,
just
yeah.
saying, like we're living in that time when it's kind of like, yeah, we're kind of
reactionary.
yeah. And I don't know if it was a statement or if they really think that it deserved.
I think
to
if
win,
it had been
but-
a statement, we would have heard more about it. And actually, that was one thing I enjoyed about the Oscars this year is other than Brad Pitt right off the bat, it was not very political. I mean,
No.
you had Brad Pitt and Joaquin Phoenix, and that was
Joaquin
about
Phoenix
it.
is just
And that was
His
he's
speech
schizophrenic.
Here's
He's
the thing.
nuts.
At the very beginning, at the very end, those were beautiful. The
Yep.
middle of his speech was just
Yes.
off the wall insane.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and it was funny because I remember we kind of broke it down, and it wasn't until he got done with his cow speech
Start talking about
Yeah.
that
Yes.
he brought back the idea of
Jeez.
I'm a scoundrel, and a lot of people out here have given me second
Yes.
chances, and talked about redemption. And then
Humility
he threw
is
in
good. It's always
that-
good.
That was
I love when he
beautiful.
said that's the best of humanity
Yes.
is when we build each other up and help
Yes.
each other grow. And I was like, I loved that part.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so for the most part, at the end of his speech, I actually thought, okay, this
And he ended
I
it
can
with the
get
River
behind.
Phoenix quote.
and that River Phoenix line, that was
Yep.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so for all that being said, most of everything else, it was just the one thing that I have a gripe with.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this has always been the case with most of Oscar shows. And thankfully this year, because it was an international Best Picture
Yes.
winner, they had egg on their face. But the fact is they're always complaining about the show going over. We had the Janelle Monáe intro. We had the Eminem,
Which
That
was
was
awesome.
terrible.
which
but
you hated
liked
it?
Eminem?
that
You
was
hated
I
it?
love Eminem.
Oh my god.
God, that was the greatest part of the Oscars. But it was pointless, and it was a time
Exactly.
waster.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool because of him winning an Oscar and then actually coming.
Well, he wasn't
to-
there when he won.
He
so
wasn't
he came
there.
back.
So for him to come back and actually perform that Oscar-winning song,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
unexpected. It was cool. But at the
I mean,
end
it was a
of
nice
the show,
tribute to music in
Yeah.
film,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like this has nothing to do with this
Well,
year.
yeah,
or the
what really
Oscars.
pissed me off was you get to the very end of the show, and then here they are. They did the same thing last year, except last year they stuck with it, but because they were running over, they fade out the lights on the people winning and stop. They close their mic, and then they move on to the close of the show real quick to wrap it up because it's run over.
Yeah.
And it's like, now wait a sec.
Yeah.
This is Best Picture.
Yeah.
This is the first time that an international Best Picture has won, and they're going to shut off the
Yeah,
lights
they
and
shut
the
off the
mic?
lights.
Yep.
They're trying to, and then
It-
luckily the
yeah.
audience was all raising their hands like, "Let them speak."
Let 'em
so it
speak,
happened.
yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree. It's bullcrap when you allow all these people to run over their time to make these.
Yeah,
these
they're supposed to have
speeches.
45 seconds.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt even got up there and said, "I've got 45 seconds." He made a political joke about it, but I'm just like, still, if that's the time that they have, that's everybody needs to stick with that. But when your last award is the best freaking picture,
Yes.
those people have the best award of the night. I'm sorry to anybody
No,
that
it
feels
is.
otherwise, but give them the most time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they had like 7 or 8 people up there that
Yeah.
wanted to talk.
It's like, I'm sorry that the show ran over 30 minutes
Yeah.
past its time. That's your fault.
Joaquin Phoenix, he talked for like 2.5
Yeah.
minutes.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
that was what pissed me off is you had him and Renee Zellweger get up there.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had like 2 minutes each.
You know when you
Yeah.
should have shut
And
the
it's
mic
like,
off
come
when he
on.
started talking about the cows.
Oh.
That's when the mic should have been shut off.
I think that was the one that I got because you all didn't have Renee.
no, we did.
You did?
Yeah, we had
we all
Renee.
had Judy. Yeah,
We all
really.
agreed
had
that-
Renee
Okay.
Zellweger
When we
too,
first
yeah.
talked early on, Brandon had stated that he didn't think she would get it, but then after the SAG Awards and the BAFTAs,
Okay,
we all
okay.
agreed. Yeah,
I
Yeah.
didn't want her to win. That's who I wanted Scarlett Johansson. to
Scarlett,
win.
yeah.
was
Yeah.
Marriage Story.
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, I'm in agreement with the winners. I think
Yeah.
for the most part, there were some surprises in there. Nothing huge, but I wanted to see, of course, Joker take home a lot more. I appreciated it more. Same with 1917 and Once Upon a Time. They came up more short. But, you had a couple of nods to
It
The Irishman and
happens.
Scorsese.
I was surprised about the
Um,
the visual effects.
I
That
was
was
too.
that did. Yeah, 1917
that
actually
one.
surprised
That
me.
one bothered me because when you've got Endgame and some
even
of the
Star
other
Wars,
ones,
yeah.
I mean-
Star Wars, I'm just like, come on,
Well,
like
and that was actually an article that Keith sent me. Interestingly enough, Avengers Endgame is now the only
Yeah.
major
Yeah.
motion picture that is the highest grossing of that year that did not win an
win
Oscar.
any
Yeah.
Oscars. Yeah.
It's like
That's-
every
that's-
movie that broke the highest grossing record went on to win at least 3 Oscars or more. Endgame was only nominated for the one, but it didn't even win it. So
Yeah.
it has
So
0.
that's
It's-
kind of
it's
disappointing.
the only
Yeah.
since the Oscars started, it's the only highest grossing film to have no
so,
Oscars.
and I'm not sure about this. So now is Black Panther the only superhero movie or Marvel movie to have won an Oscar? I'm not sure about
I'll
that.
have to
I
look
don't
because
know.
I don't know if any won any
You know,
special effects. But
somebody
it
write that in the
yeah.
comments.
It
if they
might.
can check
It
that out.
might be.
But
Um,
overall, I thought the show was entertaining in some parts. I thought again, hostless.
If Eminem could have
was
kept
fine.
his pants up, I might have.
He had a beer belly.
He pulled his
Yeah.
pants down. His pants were falling down around
Yeah,
his
that's
ankles.
just-
His
that's-
beer belly. He
that's
was
just rap
lip
culture,
syncing through
man.
part of it. Like I
He's
just
a-
thought it
he's a-
was.
I mean, he's
I
a
thought he gave an
50-year-old
awesome
thug.
performance. I loved it.
I did. I
But
thought
he
it
quit
was-
singing at one point, but his voice was still going in the background.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
Elton John did it too. He quit singing, and the music was still playing,
I
and,
don't
and,
know.
it, and it was like
That
you're
was the
supposed to
one-
keep singing, bud.
That was the one I lost that I thought I was going to win.
Rocket
And I
Man?
wish I
Oh
would've
yeah,
put
we both
Rocket
had
Man.
Elton John.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mentioned it on the
Yeah.
podcast, but I ended up going with Frozen, and I wish I would have
Yeah.
went with Rocket Man.
I thought they'd give it to Rocket Man,
dummy.
but I wanted the Toy Story song to win, and it,
Yep.
Randy Newman
I think,
was there.
honestly-
of course. He didn't play the piano.
Yeah.
I don't know if
thought
you
he
noticed
did.
that.
They
He
showed
did.
his keys.
They
his
showed
feet
us
were
playing
the
it.
keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, his
Me and
fingers-
Amelia were watching it, and I was just, he's not playing right
Yeah,
now.
he
His
is.
feet
He
weren't
was-
even moving.
Because I mean, they
He
showed
wasn't moving the pedals or nothing.
Well, he never did touch the pedals, and he may not have needed to. That just depends on what he's playing. But I mean, his fingers
His
were always
hands,
hitting the keys.
They stayed right here.
I
through
don't
the
know. I
whole
saw
song.
him even at the end. They
When they
even
went
Well,
to
showed
go
the
back and
end-
watch it.
When they went to
because
the
at
end,
the end
and
they have
did
a
the
close up of
cutaway.
his. They have
yeah.
a close up of his hands. and
Okay,
stuff, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. I
So-
thought no, I
Man.
thought they all performed.
Yeah.
I thought they all did.
Actually, the best performance I thought was actually, and that was Billie Eilish for when she sang yesterday
The In
during
Memoriam.
that
I did
memorial.
enjoy that.
I thought
yes.
she did an excellent job, and I
I
was like,
did.
wow, like she impressed me because I hadn't. I've heard
Yeah.
some of her music, some of it I like,
Well,
some of it I don't. But
If you're
that
gonna
was
take
really
a
good.
Beatles song, don't ruin it, and
Yeah.
she didn't ruin it.
Yeah.
No, and I thought honestly now with her
The only
new
bad
song,
part about the In Memoriam were the people they left.
Yeah, I was gonna say
out.
you had two huge people
Yeah.
with Luke Perry and Cameron Boyce.
Yeah.
That
being
killed me
left
too
out.
because Luke
Yeah.
Perry was in a freaking
In Once Upon a
Oscar-nominated
Time,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was in Once
God.
Upon a Time in Hollywood, and they didn't even put him in the
Yep.
memoriam.
Crazy,
So.
just crazy. But
Yeah.
and then I thought, yeah, she performed well. Her new single "For No Time to Die" is out. Go check that out.
Mhm.
But I think she's for all the success she's had and the type of music that she does do, to actually hear her vocals and see her actually singing
It's
well.
kind of like when
I'm
I
happy.
when I first
Yeah.
actually started liking Lady Gaga was when I heard her sing at the Oscars for the Sound of Music.
Oh,
Was the Sound of Music
No,
that she
no, no.
covered?
Star is Born. Or no,
no. She did a
She
cover
sang before,
of I thought it was a song from The Sound of Music, but I could be wrong. But I mean, the first time I heard her actually sing something outside of what she usually sings, I was like, "Wow, she is amazing." So,
But no, absolutely. I thought it was a good show. I
Yeah.
thought it could have obviously always it can be condensed. A lot of people
but
would say that
it
about
was
our
the lowest
show.
rated Oscar show ever.
But that's also
and here's the thing: like, I think it was actually one of the better Oscar shows I've seen in years. But the problem is when you're already on that downward trend and you're not offering anything that's going to hook people to watch it, and when you still are letting people get on their soapboxes, which I agree, it was more tame this year.
It was less,
but
yeah.
still, people didn't know that, so they weren't going to tune in. Until you prove that you're going to be something worth watching, people aren't going to tune in. So,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I think that's going to be the trend that it continues on. I
Yep.
think it's that downward spiral, unfortunately. But that's just the nature of the beast, and they've got to stop. You know, I mean, if they, it's not even about the time at this point. It's more so about the content.
well, now I'm looking forward to
And-
the Razzies.
Them
Razzies.
The
Is it the
Razzies?
Razzies or the Razzies?
The Razzies.
Razzies.
Okay.
Golden raspberries.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I think are we finally ready? Then that's our Oscar talk for this year, wrapping up 2020.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
I think we're ready for our story time segment.
Stories.
Yeah.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
Story time.
That never gets old.
I never got
Ooh,
that was new. I like
level
that.
up.
That was that.
You just got a mushroom.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, mushroom. That was like the only thing I thought was fitting. I
We've
don't
got
know.
shrooms on the
I mean,
show.
Flower power.
I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
you just got a coin.
that coin. Yeah, coin.
Sweet.
I
I
mean,
need
we
to-
could play Mario all through here. We just
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Mario on there.
I was gonna say I need to put more.
Oh man.
it's over now.
I should have We should have went through the Oscars and done that for each
That's
one.
the
we
Oh
got.
yeah, yeah.
That would have been good.
It's
That
like
would have been the only
oh,
time it made sense.
Yeah.
All right, guys, for our story time segment this week,
Mm-hmm.
the big question. Now, this was kind of brought on by Sean. You brought up a topic
Mhm.
of discussion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you bring up that sad story.
Yeah. So tomorrow's Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Don't
Oh.
forget, men out there that are listening, you better get to Walmart and get the card and the flowers.
Get that heart.
The
Whatever you
chocolate
forgot,
heart.
get it all taken care of now. But my son, who's in the first grade, he put a lot of time
Got a little sweet.
writing his name.
Got a little girlfriend
on
out there?
No, no
Oh,
girlfriend.
Okay.
Writing
First
his
grade,
name
man.
on all
Come
of
on.
his little
Hey, I had
Valentine
one in
cards.
first grade.
No, you didn't.
I did too.
See, we all did.
No,
Yeah.
you didn't.
Yeah, we did.
It's
I got
not-
her. I got her soap.
This is my
She
girlfriend.
threw it at me.
She
Yeah.
got her soap.
Yeah. I got her a
Really?
bar. I got her this like fancy looking dove shaped
Was it in a
bar of
heart?
soap.
You actually bought soap for her? Like your parents bought it for?
Yeah.
See,
At a
my
yard
thing is
sale.
the only thing I remember about
At a
boyfriend.
yard
It was
sale.
like a dove
The only thing-
shaped
Who
bar
buys
of soap,
soap at a
and
yard
it smelled
sale?
really good.
What?
And yeah, like
They
it
had
was-
leftover soap.
It was a
wasn't
nickel.
u-
Like it was a
wasn't
nickel,
used
so I got it.
soap, Surely.
She threw it at me.
My thing is, I say no, you didn't, just because in first grade you don't really have a boyfriend or girlfriend. But Sean actually bought them something, so I might
I did.
consider yours
Well,
a
with
real.
my own money.
His-
And that is a step above mine.
That's
My
what I'm
parents
saying.
wouldn't let me.
Exactly,
They
'cause-
wouldn't let me in
'cause-
first grade.
Because
But I
they
had
know
one.
in first grade you're just like, this is my girlfriend, but you don't even know what that means.
All right, let me get
so-
back to the story.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
okay,
Okay,
ahead.
so he bought everybody in his class Avengers Valentines to hand out with
Yeah.
like glow sticks in them and everything. Wrote his
Oh,
name on all the
man.
cards, and then he got strep throat and the flu,
Oh,
and so he didn't go to
man.
school today, and he's not gonna be there tomorrow.
Poor guy.
So he didn't get to hand out his Valentines on Valentine's Day
Man.
to his whole class.
Man.
So you thought that was a good story to.
I
He
wanted,
just
you
thought,
know,
you
it made
know,
me
brought
think.
up a
A
good.
poor child's
Yeah.
pain was a good story. They don't even have school tomorrow in Jefferson County. It's a parent-teacher conference day.
Yeah. Oh, they don't have it in Nelson County either. But today was the day they were going to hand out all their.
Valentine's.
They were having a
Yeah, so-
Valentine's party
yeah,
today,
yeah.
and he didn't get to do it.
Oh man, but
So-
that's but it's nice that they're
His teacher's going to let him hand them out Monday.
Oh,
that's-
that's
aw.
sweet. That's sweet.
Yeah,
My
That's
favorite
sweet.
part of those was always getting those heart-shaped candies that taste like chalk. I like those. I
Right.
still like those today.
Those
Right.
are the
I
sweet.
don't know.
they're
Yeah, they have the little
sweet
little
hearts.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love
like,
those sweethearts.
be
That's what they're
mine.
called.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I love
sweethearts.
those. I don't
Yeah.
know why, because they're really not
They
that
all
great,
taste
but
the
I love
same.
them.
Yeah.
There's no flavors really.
No.
Well, they kind of like they do have like it's almost like Tums. Like they have the flavor of
yeah.
Tums.
Yeah.
Chalkiness.
But yeah, exactly.
But see, I don't like Tums.
I don't either.
Every now
But
and
I
then
like
you'd
those
get one
sweethearts.
where the letters were like scratched
Messed
off
up.
or missing.
Yeah.
It would say like E-mine
Yeah,
or something
well,
like
they
that.
still do that.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
horribly made. They're not with the same.
See, now I
care
want
and
to stop
quality
by.
they used to.
Now I want to stop by Walgreens on my way home and
That's
buy
because they're
some.
made in China now.
See, that's the thing. You could almost buy yourself, some,
Mhm.
and just say it's for somebody.
Yeah.
And just eat the candy yourself.
yeah.
I mean, that's what half the time
I'm
I
just
did.
saying,
when
I
was,
went and bought myself
you know,
this
right.
because I
Saturday
wanted
it'll all be
Yeah.
50% off. So
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. I'm not going to buy them today.
Well, and you think about it, but it's like hell. I mean, my
It's
gosh.
like hell. Valentine's Day is
It's
like,
like
hell.
hell.
Well, it's like hell for a lot of people out there. But it's like, hey, nobody has to know. I can just
Yeah.
eat the candy myself. It'll
Indeed.
be good.
so what's
So
story
it-
time?
because of that story, it was sad, but it made me think of childhood memories
Mm.
that I didn't have
Yeah.
because of an instance where I was sick or something, or
Yeah.
or a reason I had to miss school, and so that was gonna be my topic of story time. Missed
What-
childhood memories.
What did you miss?
Well, mine actually was much more severe than just, well, I don't know, strep and flu is pretty bad.
That's the second
it's-
time that he's had both
Really?
at the same time. Yeah.
Wow.
And especially
It's
at
really
that
weird.
age, that's like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
terrible though. Which they're no joke on those. Those are terrible in and of themselves.
Yeah.
But there was a field trip that I missed when I was in elementary school, and I wasn't sick, but I had lice. And
Dirty kid.
yeah. Oh yeah, no, my parents were pissed.
Actually, people
'Cause-
with dirty hair don't get
I
lice
know
because they don't want to
that's-
live in
and
it.
you
Yeah.
can't say that anymore either.
See?
'Cause
No.
that might hurt somebody's
It
feelings.
could. It's like
Well-
that child's trash. It's like, well, truth hurts.
Yeah.
Wash
But
your
that was,
head
oh,
every
my
now and
parents
then.
were pissed because they were certain.
Yeah.
They knew I'd got it from somebody at school.
Oh yeah.
Because of
where else
course,
are you gonna get it
Yeah,
from?
and they're sitting here thinking, I mean, they had to go through everything, changing the bed linens and washing everything. And what?
He said, "Well, who else are you gonna get it
Well, I
from?"
mean,
I'm sitting here
you
thinking
know.
homeless people. Like I can think of a dozen other
Well,
places
I mean,
to get lice.
usually I'm not close enough to a homeless person
I'm
for them
just
to give me
saying.
lice.
Yeah,
think,
true.
you
Not
know.
when I was like in third grade. I
Typically,
wasn't close
yeah.
to homeless
I
people.
mean,
true.
So
lice comes from like you have to
just-
be near enough or share a hat or so
Yeah.
typically it's like unless
and
you're
it might
butting
have been
heads
that.
with people.
It might have been honestly, your kid, you're putting on your
Yeah.
playtime, you're
Yeah.
putting on other
Yeah.
people's
Yeah.
hats or something.
Yeah, beware of trying on a hat in the store. Someone with lice tried that hat on before you.
Yep.
You got lice.
And so my parents went through the house cleaning everything. My brother and sister were, of course, they were they had to be quarantined
Yep.
because
Yeah.
it could get on them. So then they were fine though; they never got it. My parents even tried Rid, the over the counter stuff, and that didn't even work. Ended up having to go to a doctor, get prescription like shampoo.
What you should have done was go down to the veterinary clinic and get you some of that flea.
The
until
dog,
you-
yeah, I
Oh.
bet that would have worked.
Probably would have.
Yeah,
Probably would have been
true.
cheaper too.
Oh.
But and that stuff that the doctor gave us, it worked. It was flawless.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like
I
instant.
hope so. If you have to go to the doctor and get a prescription, they better give you something.
Yeah,
that
they better
works.
give you something that works. But no, I ended up having to miss a field trip. I don't even remember where it was at, but I do remember my mom and dad knew I was looking forward to it. Who doesn't look forward to a field trip
Yeah.
in elementary school?
Yeah.
And they knew I was extremely upset that I'd have to miss it. And so I was already cured, but they just wanted to stay back away from kids and from school just in case. So the day of the field trip, I was upset because I knew I was missing, but I thought everything was fine.
Yeah.
Like my lice was gone.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, why can't I go? And they ended up getting, oddly enough, they got me Tremors 2 to watch.
That's actually a good movie.
There's nothing wrong with.
Hey, well, it was the one I picked.
Yeah.
I picked it from the video
I mean-
store. They let me go and pick whatever I wanted. I wanted Tremors 2.
They all kind of go downhill after the first one, but
Oh, yeah.
still, Trimmers 2 is a lot of fun
Ass
to watch.
blasters.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Uh,
So
well, that was the third one, and I
Oh,
love
that was the third one?
Yeah,
Oh,
no, the
man.
second one was where I forget what they were called, where they had like the infrared, like
that's right.
like,
yes.
little-
Tremors 2 is called Aftershocks.
yeah. But I know, but I was trying to forget what the creatures are called because they give them a new name in every one. You
Yeah.
have the
Oh,
graboids,
yeah.
and then they evolve into the things with the infrared in 2, and then in the third
Then
one
the
they
third one's
evolve
ass
into the ass
blasters.
blasters.
But all I know is they let me go in and pick whatever movie I wanted. I picked Tremors 2.
yeah,
And of course, that's
wanna
what I
go
wanted
and
to
watch all
watch.
the Trimmer movies.
And then
They're
my
on
dad
Netflix right now.
took me to McDonald's to get something to eat because,
Yeah.
of course, as a kid, it's like, I want to go to McDonald's, get
Yeah.
a Happy Meal.
yeah,
So I went to McDonald's. It was the same McDonald's that the school kids went to
so you
for
saw
after.
all these kids.
So I went to
Wow.
the same, which
wow,
kind of defeated the
that happen?
purpose. I don't know. It happened to be the
that's
same
crazy.
McDonald's
Yeah.
that the school kids went to for their lunch
Yeah.
after the field trip. And so I'm in there playing in the play place, and like I actually got to play with all my friends.
That kind of defeated the purpose of you staying home.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm sitting here thinking my dad's probably feeling embarrassed. Like, well, yeah, I guess he could have went to school, and now he's having to look at the teachers and be like, well, we kept him home for a reason.
Yeah.
But no, so I went to that, and I remember all the kids leaving the play place to get back on the bus, and they were all kind of waving to me like, come on, let's go, we got to go, thinking I just got there late.
Yeah.
And my dad was just, I could see my dad down there telling him, he's like, no, he's got to go home with us. He didn't get to go with you all.
Yeah.
And so I was just up in the play place, like waving at him bye, all sad because I
Yeah.
couldn't go back with them.
Yeah.
But that was my missed childhood memory. But it ended up being a better one. It wasn't that bad.
Well, that's
It
interesting.
was okay.
Yeah.
So what about you
Yeah.
guys?
Well, I had chicken pox in elementary school because, that happens when you're a child. But I was supposed to go on the field trip to the zoo, which is a field trip you take like every single year in elementary school. So it's not like I was missing anything, but I was really devastated. It's like, I can't go. And my aunt ended up buying me like this little toy laser gun or whatever because she felt bad. So I was really excited about the laser gun. But I just remember like sitting at home watching TV with calamine lotion like all over my freaking body. Like I could go see all the animals. And I mean, I've been to the zoo a million times, but
It's
when
not
you're
that great,
when,
is it?
when
Yeah.
no, I love the zoo. I still love the zoo as an adult.
So-
Ours
No,
is
I
not
love
that
it.
great.
I
I'm
we have a
just
pretty
saying.
actually one of our zoos is
Hey,
it's not as good as like the Cincinnati but I
Yeah,
mean it's
just
still
saying,
that's
it's-
funny. I was
yeah.
gonna say if you've seen the Cincinnati Zoo, then you'll be appreciative of Louisville.
Well,
but
we
I
all
mean,
have our own
but I mean,
opinions of
our
the
zoo
zoo.
is actually rated fairly high
Yeah.
nationally. So, but I mean, I like it, and I mean, I love to go to the zoo even
The
still.
Cincinnati Zoo
so-
is where people throw their kids with the gorillas.
Well, that's okay. I mean, you have to shoot the gorillas, which upsets
That's
people.
what I'm
But
saying.
Yep.
It's all right though, because everybody at the Cincinnati Zoo's got a gun. So
I mean, we've never had to shoot our gorillas here in Louisville. So
True.
just,
That's
just
true.
saying.
I
just
have
saying.
always enjoyed the lion. The lion is one of my favorite parts, even
Oh,
though it
yeah.
just sits back far
I
away.
mean, yeah, I don't
I
care
like-
about the lion.
I like the lion. I like
Yeah.
the polar bears.
I like the
too.
giraffes because you could feed them and actually like
That's
touch
cool.
them because
Yeah.
they'll bend their heads down because they're
Yeah.
used to people feeding them now. So you can be like, I'm touching a giraffe.
So now that you've been
Yeah.
back to the zoo since, it's a missed childhood memory, but it was also you got a little laser.
it was
gun
more of
and
one of those things that
yeah.
I was like, man, like,
disappointed at the time.
I don't know. It happens, man.
And Sean, you said so. Really, you're. Oh no.
I'm still trying to think, and I just cannot.
I mean, that's
it's
the only
okay.
one I
Your,
can
your
remember.
your son's story could be
That's my story.
That's
Yeah.
your story.
that's
Yeah.
your story.
You feel his pain.
Yeah,
and your help, but
flesh
you know
of my
what?
flesh. It's
And-
it's my story too.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we just don't have kids yet to share those.
I
terrible memories of.
I can't think of anything. I've been
I
trying
remember
for an
another
hour
time
to think of
I
something.
missed, like, I was upset because I was so sick on Christmas Eve, and I ended up missing church. And as a kid, you don't really care about
Yeah.
missing church.
Yeah.
But it sucked because it was Christmas in general.
Yeah.
And it's like you
You
don't
were
want to be
sick,
sick on
yeah.
Christmas.
I think my favorite sick story, like, I mean, I didn't miss anything specifically, but I mean, I did stay home from school in high school because I was gone for like 2 or 3 days. I was really sick. And I remember like taking NyQuil and stuff. So I remember waking up at 3 a.m. still being like really groggy from the NyQuil and not, for some reason, still not being able to go back to sleep, but I was doped up on NyQuil and turning on the TV, and it was the first time I ever saw Moulin Rouge, like, doped up on NyQuil.
Oh,
So I was sitting there
yeah.
watching this movie, like, high off NyQuil, like, this is freaking amazing.
It is.
So,
It's a
you know,
great
that was an
movie.
interesting story.
That was not a missed childhood
Uh,
memory.
no,
that
I
was
enjo-
definitely
I
worthwhile.
enjoyed that. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know what this movie is, but I'm loving it.
All right, guys. Well, if you have your own childhood memory that you missed, why don't you email us and tell us what you think about missing your favorite childhood memory because of some illness or whatever other reason? You know what you can do with that email?
What?
You know
No.
what that email is?
Mm-mm.
No.
I'll tell you right now. It's right there at the bottom of your screen.
Who screen?
RMPodcast
This
at
this-
redmoonproductions.com.
here?
I don't know,
Is it-
Keith.
is
Is
There's
it?
two of us.
That's
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 there?
it.
Oh,
Oh, wow. you got-
RM podcast at Red Moon Productions.
That's it.
that's fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sean, right there.
Yeah.
Right below your nose.
I think
Right, nope. Over. The other way. That's it. Right there.
Let me move my nose over so you.
Yeah, you could point it with
accurate.
your nose. Put it, RM Podcast.
at redmoonproductions.com.
And of course, I think we have another announcement to make. Do we not?
Yes,
we should
we
probably
do.
get into
Yeah.
that.
Actually, we should
Yeah.
probably announce that
Good
at the
job,
beginning
Keith.
of the show.
Yeah.
Uh,
About to
big,
be a missed memory right there.
Huge announcement to
Yes.
make. This is very big. So Thursdays at 9 p.m. has always been our home since we've gone live
Always.
a year ago.
Yep.
Due to some scheduling changes
Mhm.
with my own work schedule, I am now.
It's all Brandon's fault.
It's
It
really
is.
my fault.
He makes everything worse.
It's all about him.
It is.
He is the
And,
dictator.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Y'all got to do what I say, or it'll just be me on here.
I don't have to do
Yeah.
anything you
It's
say.
true, but it's my house, my studio. So yeah, I guess I'll just be the only one.
Well, these are our mics.
We'll take him and leave.
That's fine. That's fine.
This is not.
Go ahead.
Nobody's leaving.
Nobody's going anywhere.
Nobody's going anywhere.
We're leaving.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah.
leaving Thursdays.
We're
Yeah.
leaving Thursdays. So from now on, our show will be live on Tuesday nights at 9
The
p.m.
other day of the week that starts with a T.
Exactly.
That's the way I
That's-
look at it.
That's
Yeah.
exactly. It was, So
Yeah.
it was a
It's
simple
not that much
change.
different.
Right. Very simple, but definitely needs to be noted. That is going to be our new
Yes.
live night
Right.
for the Red Moon Podcast.
Live.
We'll change everything, so you should change
Yeah.
everything too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
your whole
you
schedule,
Move your
just change
whole
it
schedule.
to
So if you
Tuesday.
have missed a childhood memory because of Thursdays with us,
Mhm.
you don't have to anymore.
No.
You can watch your favorite Thursday programming and not miss us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
when
you can
tune
miss
in
your
on
Tuesday
Tuesdays.
programming.
And this
Exactly.
week in particular is a treat for our viewers because they get us tonight and then they get us on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Really close
Mhm.
together. there.
Exactly. Very
So-
short turnaround.
Yeah.
But then after that turnaround,
Yeah.
it's Tuesdays
It's a
after that.
letdown again.
So Tuesdays at 9 p.m.
Mm.
Eastern. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube Live. Same place as always,
Yep.
but Tuesdays at 9 from here on out instead of Thursdays. So until next time, guys. Looking forward to it. Oh, Keith,
Oh,
you got
Keith's
one more
got
thing?
something.
No, I
Oh,
was
no.
getting prepared for our log off, but
Oh.
you said until next time, so I thought we were going to go into we'll see you at the movies, but you didn't.
Well, I've got
Well.
to say our name and everything first.
Well, I mean,
We got to do that
It's
whole
another
rap.
missed
Gosh,
memory
you
right
just-
there.
Oh my
just-
gosh. Maybe we get.
I was trying to prepare for it because we don't always get that down very
We'll get
well.
it right on Tuesdays.
We're Tuesdays we're gonna have fresh week. We're not at
Mhm.
the end of the week trying to get to the weekend and cram for Friday. It's like
Mhm.
now we got right at the beginning of the week.
Yep.
We've got to be fresh. And
I know
well
what you're talking
slept.
about. I don't cram for Friday.
Okay. Until
We need
next
to end
time,
this
guys.
show.
God almighty.
Remember, tune in next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern for our show live every week. The podcast will also go live probably on Wednesday or Thursday. I haven't decided yet. The audio version.
I was just saying,
Yeah.
clarify that.
Yeah. So I haven't decided that. But hey, again, we'll have that updated on our Facebook, YouTube
Heck,
page.
we may even have a
everywhere.
website
So-
one day.
Hashtag.
One day. Until next time, guys, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
until next time, we will
see you at the movies.
You son of a.
Ah.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook
Ignore
or
that
follow
graphic.
us on Twitter
Every
by searching
Tuesday.
for Red Moon
Every
Productions
Tuesday, guys.
LLC. We'll see you at the movies.
I'm as mad as hell, but I'm not gonna take this anymore!